Every lesson changes us. Some teach us what to embrace, others teach us what to let go of. But have you ever paused to ask who or what has been teaching you all along? Hello, welcome to Akam Wellness, a space dedicated to self-discovery and empowerment. Hi, I am Vasagi. Today is Pournami, the full moon. This day is observed as Guru Purnima, a day to honor our gurus, our teachers, and everyone who has guided us through life, whether or not they ever carry the title of Guru. As I was preparing for today's reflection, I found myself thinking less about the occasion itself and more about the lessons that have shaped my own life, and that people whose words stayed with me long after the conversation had ended. Now, if you're looking for the history, mythology, or the etymology of Guru Purnima, you'll find many wonderful resources that explain those beautifully. But today, I'd like to take a different approach. I'd like us to pause to reflect and to acknowledge every person, every experience, and sometimes even every hardship that has quietly shaped who we are today. Traditionally, the word guru is understood as gu represents darkness, ru represents the one who removes that darkness. So, a guru is not simply someone who gives us knowledge. A guru helps remove ignorance. And when ignorance begins to fall away, understanding has room to emerge. But why is Guru Purnima observed as a full moon? See, in traditional Vedic astrology, the moon is known as the Manokaraka, the significator of the mind. And if we are honest with ourselves, the mind is really still. It moves constantly. One moment it is hopeful, the next moment it is fearful. It wanders into the past, it worries about the future, it clings, it resists, it oscillates, much like the changing phase of the moon. Yet once every month, the moon appears in its fullness, completely illuminated. Perhaps that is the deeper invitation of Guru Purnima. Not that the full moon changes us, but that it reminds us of what is possible. A mind clouded by fear, confusion, or constant distraction struggles to see clearly. But as understanding grows, as awareness deepens, and as ignorance gradually falls away, the mind becomes clearer, more spacious, more receptive. In that clarity, the wisdom of the Guru begins to shine through. And perhaps over time, our own mind begins to reflect that wisdom. Maybe that is the real journey. Not becoming dependent on a guru, but allowing the teachings to become so deeply integrated that in moments of uncertainty, wisdom begins to arise from within. The external guru points the way, the awakened mind learns to walk the path. Perhaps that is why we honor the guru, not because we need someone to think for us, but because they teach us how to observe, how to inquire, and ultimately how to discover truth for ourselves. When I first began reflecting on Guru Purnima, I realized something. Some of my greatest teachers were never standing in a classroom. Some never called themselves gurus. Some didn't even know they were teaching me. But there was one person whose words have stayed with me through every season of my life, my guru. I still remember moments when I was searching for answers, trying to change my circumstances, trying to make sense of what life was asking of me. One day, my guru simply looked at me and said, "Vasuki, if you want to resolve what is happening outside, you must first turn within." At the time, I wasn't entirely sure what he meant. I thought the answer was to change my circumstances, to fix what was happening around me. But over the years, I realized he wasn't asking me to escape my problems. He was asking me to understand the mind that was experiencing them. Think about that. Another lesson he shared with me has stayed in my heart ever since. Love and fear are two sides of the same coin. At first, those words sounded profound, but I didn't truly understand them. Life became the teacher that slowly unfolded their meaning. I began to notice how often fear disguises itself as control, as attachment, as the need to always be right or the need to hold on, and how love quietly asks us to do something very different, to trust, to soften, to remain open. Perhaps the lesson that challenged me the most was when he said, "Learn to drink the pain, Vasuki." Not to avoid it, not to run from it, not to pretend it wasn't there, but to stay with it long enough for it to become a teacher instead of an enemy. And then there was another lesson I will never forget. Think of your problem as the mouth of a tiger and jump into it. At a time when I was walking through what many people call the dark night of the soul, those words didn't remove my pain, but they removed something even more important. They removed my fear of facing it. Looking back now, I realize none of these teachings gave me answers. They changed the way I looked at the questions. And perhaps that is what every true guru does. The more I reflect on these teachings, the more I realized my guru wasn't the only teacher I had. Life became my teacher. Failure became my teacher. Curiosity became my teacher. Even pain became my teacher. Some never called themselves gurus. Some didn't even know they were teaching me. Then I began to ask myself, if all of these have been teachers, what is it that truly makes someone or something a guru? Is it the amount of knowledge they possess? Or is it their ability to help us see what we couldn't see before? Perhaps that is the deeper invitation of Guru Purnima, or every Pournami, full moon. Not simply to honor one person, but to recognize every source of wisdom that has helped us become who we are today. And perhaps to ask ourselves another question. How can I become a source of kindness, wisdom, or encouragement in someone else's life? Because we may never know whose darkness is quietly waiting for a little light. Yeah, that's profound. Think about it. Before we end today, I'd like to leave you with a simple reflection. You don't have to close your eyes. You don't have to sit in meditation. Just pause for a moment. Think of someone who believed in you before you believed in yourself. Someone whose words still echo in your mind. Someone who helped you through a difficult season. Or perhaps a challenge that taught you resilience, a failure that taught you humility, or an unexpected experience that changed the way you see life. Whatever comes to mind, simply acknowledge it. Silently say thank you. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the growth. Thank you for helping me become who I am today. Gratitude isn't only about remembering the people who made life easier. Sometimes it's about honoring the experiences that made us wiser. And perhaps this brings us back to the beautiful symbolism of tonight's full moon. Just as the full moon reflects light in its fullness, our minds too become capable of reflecting wisdom when they are no longer clouded by fear, confusion, or ignorance. Perhaps that is what Guru Purnima gently reminds us, that every lesson, every challenge, every teacher helps illuminate the mind a little more. Until one day, the wisdom we once sought outside begins to shine quietly from within. Perhaps that is the true spirit of Guru Purnima. Or Pournami, I like to say it. Not simply celebrating a teacher, but recognizing every source of wisdom that has illuminated our path. And if today's reflection has reminded you of someone, perhaps this is the perfect day to reach out. A message, a phone call, a quiet prayer, or an intent, or simply a heartfelt thank you. Because gratitude, when expressed, has a beautiful way of completing the lesson. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's reflection resonated with you, I'd love to hear about someone who has been a guru in your life. Share your story in the comments. We may all learn from one another. Until we meet again, may you always have the courage to turn within, to learn from life, and to recognize the gurus who quietly illuminate your path. I am Vasagi. Thank you for spending this full moon with me. I'll see you in the next reflection.